Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to talk about how you can persist in manifesting your specific person, in revisiting the wish fulfilled with your specific person, when the persisting itself gets tough. I am completely aware of all the ups and downs that come with the manifesting a specific person journey. So my hope with this video is to help you guys to find ways to persist when it feels really, really tough and really, really hard to keep persisting. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So as I just said in my intro, I'm very, very aware that most people who are manifesting a specific person go on this journey and they have a lot of ups and downs. It can be a roller coaster experience where you might have a day or two of feeling fine and being in the state of the wish fulfilled, and then the following day you spiral and that repeats itself. And I know that when we're in a state of spiraling, it becomes very, very hard, at least in those moments or in those days, to keep persisting or to convince ourselves that we need to keep persisting. So I wanted to make this video today to help all of you guys who might be finding it very hard to persist, to find ways to actually do it and to find ways to convince yourself that it's not so hard after all, and yes, I can absolutely keep persisting. So the first thing I'm going to say, it's quite obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're feeling completely exhausted by the whole manifesting process, because I know it can be a very emotional journey for a lot of people, you can take a break from consciously manifesting your specific person, to regroup, to bring your focus and your energy back into yourself, to take care of yourself, to just relax, to fill your mind with other things instead, and so on. So if you're absolutely exhausted and you feel like you need a break, feel free to take a break. Whether it's for a few days or for a few weeks, however long you need to take a break for, take it. Don't worry about your manifestation. It's not going to go away. If you feel like you need to focus on yourself, if you feel like you need to take a little break, do it and have no guilt and no shame over it. Now, aside from that, when it comes to the actual persisting, I find that the reason most people struggle with persisting, especially when it comes to desires that are emotionally charged, for example, bringing a specific person back or manifesting a new situation, a new reality with your specific person, the difficulty most people have with it, and the reason why a lot of the time we find it hard to persist, is, believe it or not, because we are taking things a little too seriously. And by that, I don't mean not to take your manifestation seriously. What I mean, though, is that the reason why we find it so hard to persist is that we become so attached to our desire, we become so attached to that whole manifestation, we become so attached to the concept of needing to see movement in the 3D, looking at the 3D, wondering where things are, wondering if this thing is working, and ultimately treating this manifestation as the end-all be-all, treating this manifestation as it's almost a life or death matter, and giving it so much importance in our head, and treating it as such a serious matter, as the key to our happiness, the key to our life, the key to our whole existence sometimes, that we end up exhausting ourselves mentally and emotionally. We start spiraling, we start questioning everything, we want to give up, then we decide not to give up after all, then we want to give up again. You know the process. I'm sure many of you have experienced it or are currently experiencing it. So the thing you guys need to realize when you are in states like that is exactly what I just said. This is just a state. This is a state where you're taking everything so seriously, and again, I'm going to repeat that. It doesn't mean that you're not taking your manifestation seriously. It means, though, that you are treating it as the end-all be-all, as the key to your happiness, the key to your life, the key to your existence. It's a life or death matter, almost. So, of course, when you are in a state like that, and you're spiraling, and you're telling yourself that you need to persist, of course you're going to experience some internal reaction and some internal resistance because your ego is not going to want to persist. You feel so desperate, you feel so needy, you feel so obsessed, you feel so hopeless that you don't want to persist. But the thing that you need to realize is that this is just a state like every other state. And what have we said about states? They can always change. And what's even better, we can choose to change them. At any given moment, we have the choice to change states and attitudes towards anything. So when you find yourself in such desperate states, in states where you feel so hopeless, so powerless, so disempowered, and you're finding it so hard to persist, and you want to give up, realize that the reason you're feeling like that is because in that moment, you're taking everything extremely seriously. So one thing that you can do is, first of all, awareness is very, very important. So you need to put your awareness to where your state is. And once you are aware of where you are in your state and what you're doing mentally and emotionally in that state, you are now free to shift it and to change it. You are now free to see and realize that you can insert a little more lightheartedness to the matter. See if you can insert some humor into it. For example, if your thoughts and your spiraling are telling you, this is never going to happen, I'm never going to get what I want, this is hopeless, there's nothing I can do, I feel disempowered, and so on, try inserting some lightheartedness and some humor into it. Try laughing at it, even. See if you can play along even with all this nonsense that your ego is feeding you in this moment and that you're believing and identifying with. So start telling yourself, for example, well, yeah, of course, and if I don't get it, that's the end of my life. My world is ending. And you will see that by doing that or something similar to that, finding a way to insert some humor into it, some lightheartedness into it, some more neutrality into it, basically taking the emotional charge off of it, you immediately start seeing things from a different perspective. You immediately start seeing that actually, this is not the end all be all. Yes, it is still something that I want very much. Yes, it is still something I'm manifesting and I'm serious about. But it's not the end of my life. It's not the end of my world. It's not the end of my existence. It's not even the key to my happiness. It is something that I want. It's something I'm choosing, and I will have it and I shall have it. But let me take a step back here. Step away a little bit from that desperation and that obsession and that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, and insert a little bit of lightheartedness into it, a little bit of neutrality into it. Take a little bit of the emotional charge out of it. You will see how immediately you fall into a more neutral state, a much less desperate state, a state where you don't see it as the end of your world anymore, a state where you feel much more relieved, much more reassured, much more lighthearted. And immediately what this does is that it gives you the courage and the motivation to keep persisting. Because now, all of a sudden, you don't feel so desperate about it anymore. Yes, you still want it, but you don't feel so hopeless, so helpless, so powerless anymore. Now you have inserted your own power into it. You have exerted your power over it. You have put humor into it. You have put lightheartedness into it. You have removed the extreme emotional charge around it. You have neutralized some of the devastating effect that it has been having on you. So when you guys, the persisting, gets tough, 9.5 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, it's because you're in a state of desperation, a state of hopelessness, a state of feeling helpless and disempowered, and a state where you're taking things extremely seriously. You're believing the lies that your ego is feeding you about never being able to have it, the law not working for you, you not being a good manifestor, this is never going to happen, the circumstances are too hard, whatever it is that your ego is telling you. You're identifying with that. You are engaging with those thoughts. You're believing those thoughts. And you're feeding them in your imagination, and you make a mountain out of them when inserting a little humor and a little lightheartedness and realizing that it's not a life or death matter after all, actually helps you instantly feel much, much better. And instantly, you find the motivation in that to keep persisting, because now you're realizing that you have control of the situation. You have control of your states. You have control of what's happening in here and all the feelings that you feel in your body. You still have control over all of that. So neutralizing it in this way, taking away some of its importance and its seriousness in your consciousness, because everything is in your consciousness, exerting your power over it, seeing it in a more light-hearted way, seeing it in a better light, seeing it in a light that is not so serious, you are instantly stepping back into your power. And this instantly gives you the power and the motivation and the resolve to keep persisting, because you are back to finding the fun in the whole situation, as opposed to seeing it as your end all be all. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.